Hey, Michael here. Welcome to Acquisitions Anonymous, Internet's #1 podcast about small businesses for sale, for operating them, and for buying and selling them. Bill and I had a great time today. It was a beautiful Friday, and we talked about a Aphrodisiac chocolate business for sale, and it was super interesting, super interesting. And also, Bill he couldn't get his camera to work, so it looked like he was stuck in a cave the whole time. So we spent time talking about how I'm claustrophobic. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this episode. Went a lot of cool places. This is one that I think is a mind bender in terms of how you think about business and how you think about opportunities and the right type of strategy and people doing a specific one. So anyway, who would have guessed Aphrodisiac chocolate would have gotten us there? So with no further ado, here's the episode. This episode is sponsored by Acquisition Lab. Acquisition Lab, created by Walker Diebel, author of Buy Then Build, How to Outsmart the Startup Game, is an accelerator with a highly vetted cohort-based educational and support community for people serious about buying a business. After going through the lab's month-long intensive, you have ongoing access to almost daily Q&A sessions with advisors, regular live deal review forums with Walker, handpicked vendors for your deal team, and a very active Slack group with other searchers on this path. Our team personally understands how to buy a business and will help navigate all the complexities of the process, as well as provide a trusted framework, tools, and resources to support you from search to close. The Acquisition Lab recently celebrated its 70th business being acquired and well over $100 million in aggregate transaction value. The lab is here to stand by your side so you can take the right action at the right time and avoid wasting countless hours trying to go it alone. For more information, check out acquisitionlab.com. Link is in our show notes, or email the lab's director, Chelsea Wood, at chelsea@buythenbuild.com. Okay, so Bill, welcome to the episode. Also, I'm sorry that you're stuck in a dark cave and we can't see you. So you want to tell everybody why your video's not working?
I'm spelunking today, and I'm recording this episode in the pitch black dark, so I'm a black square.
By the way, as a large person, I think about things that are most terrifying to me, and number one is being like trapped in a cave and being unable to.
Are you claustrophobic?
Rescued. Oh yeah, claustrophobic, heights. Yeah, like I'm anti all of those things. If you're interested in a freaky corner of YouTube, I don't know if you've ever been to it, but there's this freaky corner of YouTube where they basically do breakdowns of caving, like spelunking disasters. So people who go and like take a wrong turn and get stuck. So like go in and like just spend, if you want to kind of freak yourself out for one weekend, go watch a couple YouTube videos where it's like, there's one called the Nutty Putty Cave in outside of Salt Lake City that is so dangerous that they've had to like concrete it over because people would go get stuck in this cave. And there was a story of like a teenage guy who went in there with his buddy, and they thought they were going into this one section that's pretty well explored, but they took a wrong turn. And they went to a section where basically the guy got himself trapped at like an 80-degree angle, like face down in this dark cave, and they couldn't get him out. And he died after getting stuck there for like 40 hours. Like they brought in all kinds of stuff, massive spelunkers. Like some other guy tried to save him and almost got stuck. Like that is the worst way to die for me. So I'm not interested.
Terrible. That's terrible. So you would have really hated this. When I was a kid, I was in Boy Scouts, and we went camping in a cave. So we took our all of our camping stuff and we spelunked down through like the small part of the cave, and then it opened up in this huge, like football field sized cavern at the bottom. It was freaking awesome. And so we didn't need tents. Obviously it wasn't going to rain on us. So we slept on the ground, like on our sleeping pads. And then we took all these side trips. And the guide took us into this, way back, and it's pitch dark. And he goes, okay, I want you to turn off all of your lights. We turn off all of our lights. And he goes, it is so dark in here. There are literally 0 photons. That if you were in here for, I think he said for 2 years, you would go completely blind from your eyes straining to find some light.
Wow.
Just like the strain of that, you would eventually lose your eyesight because it's so dark, which is a weird. It was so cool though. I'm totally freaked out by close spaces, and I agree spelunking is not like a regular hobby of mine. It was awesome to do like with a guide in a safe way.
Yeah, in a safe way. It's pretty cool. All right. Okay. So I got here, we could play choose your own adventure today, Bill, since you're in a cave. We can do deal number 1, which is an Aphrodisiac chocolate business with a pretty, I would say like an A- teaser that we can dig into. or there is a cemetery plot brokerage, which has maybe a C+ level teaser that we can talk through.
I love both of these though. I have to go sexual chocolate because I know it's an e-commerce one. Also, I think I know the broker. I've not signed an NDA, but I got to do sexual chocolate. Let's do it.
All right, so let's talk sexual chocolate. Let me pull it up here. By the way, I'm so excited when this one came through because all I did was start sending around Coming to America memes to our group chat. So if I'm entering the age, by the way, dear listener, who, because I'm 48, I keep talking about memes from when I was a kid, like 15, 25, 35 years old. And now, Bill, I think you probably go through this too. I'm working with younger people and I'm like, have you seen The Big Lebowski? And they're like, what's that? Have you seen Top Gun? And they're like, what's that? Like, because they have a whole different set of formative media things that are part of their culture. And they look at me like I'm a crazy person.
I know. Well, what's weird is like, memes haven't been around forever. I mean, like memes in the classic internet, the new type of internet sense. We used to call them, like movie quotes.
Yeah.
People say you were quoting a movie, but like now you're sending around a meme from the movie. And I am now old enough that there are real internet memes, like internet style memes that I know that other people don't know. Internet memes have been around that long. It really weirds me out.
If I say chocolate rain, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. Yes.
These youngsters, they don't know what I'm talking about.
Yep. I as an elder millennial, I bridge the gap. Yeah. I know all of the good pop culture, but I'm still technologically savvy.
Thank you for keeping me attached to the younger generation. This is why I'm hip and say things like "I got you, fam." Yeah, I say that to my teenage kids. They're like, "Dude, seriously,
Dad, that was so 4 years ago."
Yeah, like, grow up, Dad.
Yeah.
Okay. Aphrodisiac chocolate Bill. I will read this just because I want to say the word aphrodisiac as much as possible.
Yes.
Aphrodisiac chocolate biz with massive growth and huge margins, selling due to co-founder falling out. They have done revenue 3.8 million, income of 1.7 million, and they're selling for a multiple of 3. So the asking price is $5.3 million plus inventory.
So this business has 44% net margins. And they want a 3x multiple.
Yeah. Sexual chocolate.
Okay. I'm paying attention. Keep it rolling.
By the way, the sexual chocolate meme, for those of you who haven't seen, you got to go on YouTube. It's perhaps Eddie Murphy's best movie ever, because he played like 6 characters. He played everybody from like a barber to like an African prince coming to America looking for love to a lounge singer whose band name was Sexual Chocolate. And that's why the sexual chocolate stuff comes up that you got to totally check out. But it's some of Eddie Murphy's best work. I mean, maybe the clumps, you're walking over, but you're limping back. So that stuff is there. Yep. But it's like
that was Eddie Murphy's bread and butter, right? Where he just played all the characters in the movie during that time.
Why hire actors? You just play every scene. Right. I mean, he did whiteface as part of it. Like he was like a Jewish guy hanging out in this black barbershop. Like it's just like, what are you doing? It's
like the clumps, he gained get him in a fat suit. Like he didn't care. He's like, this doesn't look like me. Like we will use the makeup artist to poorly make me look like the right character. Go.
Hercules. Yeah. All right. Okay. So 3.8 million in revenue, 1.8 million income, selling for 3 times, 5.3 million plus inventory. Launched just over a year ago. This is a truly unique e-commerce brand built by 2 unique entrepreneurs. Again,
maybe
copywriting.
Too unique, it sounds like.
Don't use the same word twice in the same sentence if you want to sound sophisticated. Okay. The founders have created a sensation and sales have exploded, going from 0 to over $500,000 per month. The brand has been featured on the popular My First Million podcast, gone viral countless times on TikTok, and been featured in the press on outlets like Vice and TMZ. While the business has grown tremendously, the fact that 2 busy college students co-founded it leaves it multiple levers to pull on future growth and optimization. I think, these guys are on Twitter. I think I've seen these guys on Twitter.
These guys are on Twitter. They are.
Because I remember seeing it and being like, that's a dumb business. Like it's going to be a flash in the pan.
Well, it looks like it's a $5 million flash in the pan.
Let's go. The underlying product was formed via the insight that the massive sexual supplement market was taboo and outdated. In turn, the founders created a winning product that spoke to the younger generation. They marketed the product where the younger generation consumes content online, namely TikTok, A material portion of sales come from TikTok, but not as a result of 1 or 2 viral videos. Instead, the owners have built a repeatable and sustainable sales process evidenced by the systems they have put in place and the impressive sales figures that have been achieved in recent months. Strong sales come from numerous other channels beyond TikTok, including subscriptions, Google Ads, email and SMS marketing, and more. The founders wish to sell the business as they have had a falling out and no longer have fun working together. By the way, that is like the most Gen Z sentence ever. We're not liking the vibes of this business.
The vibes are all wrong.
This business no longer has the vibes. I wish it said that. Although the personal relationship is sour, the health of the business is as strong as it's ever been. February 2023 closes the highest revenue month in company history. Both co-founders are bullish on the future of the brand and would be open to staying on in some capacity or rolling equity. And represented by a broker who looks like a Gen Z. Paul Anderson here, a serial entrepreneur who's built several $1 million online businesses, not wearing a hat, looks trustworthy. We should totally learn more about Paul. And that's what we know about this one. So, Sexual Chocolate, what do you think?
Yep. So I'm interested. So there's some things I like. There's some things I don't like. I'll just say at the front, I would totally get the teaser for this or the sim for this. Like, this is interesting. There's a lot that you could really like. Let's just kind of take the elephant in the room right up front, which is that the founders are no longer feeling the vibes of the business, right? So they no longer want to work together. I assume one of them wants to keep doing it. One of them wants out. And so they probably just decided to liquidate the whole thing, to resolve the situation. On one hand, this is a great reason to sell a business because it's a real reason. It's not like, founder, it wants to sell to pursue other interests, aka I want you to be the bag holder. So I mean, like, this sounds terrible, but the best reasons for selling a business is some sort of forced sale or distress, like a health issue or a disagreement between the founders or, some non-business reason that is forcing their hand. And that, assuming we'll take them at face value here, that's what's actually going on. That is a good reason because it doesn't necessarily implicate the quality of the business or the health of the business. So I do like that. That interests me as an opportunity to maybe get in on a business that might not otherwise be sold at this juncture.
Sure.
You agree, Michael?
Yeah. It's a much better reason than others.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, selling to spend more time with family or, pursue other interests or even retirement oftentimes can be BS. But like forced sale for an external reason is great. So I do like that. The margins are phenomenal. It has 44% net margins. The size is good. It's 1.7 million and they only want 3 times. Now, the fact that they only want 3 times, on one hand, you go, wow, like what a deal. Except it also sort of freaks me out a little bit. Like I happen to know the broker here, the Quiet guys, and they are one of the best, if not the best broker for e-commerce businesses. Super high integrity, super high quality. They know where the market is. So if these guys have priced it at 3 times, something's wrong with it. If you had a rocket ship $1.7 million EBITDA sexual chocolate business, the Quiet guys would have priced it higher than 3x if it was just sort of vanilla. So there's some reason it's not priced at 4 or 4.5. I don't know what that is yet, but there's something. I suspect it might be that it's only a year old. Because it said somewhere in the description, right, Michael, that they founded it about a year ago.
Yep.
They've gone from 0 to 500K per month in a year, which on one hand, you're like, woo, rocket ship, like cool. On the other hand, that is not Lindy, right? Like this could very well be a fad. This thing could drop by 50% next year. So that is potentially a reason why I think it might be marked down a little bit.
I think it's called this thing called tabs. I just Googled aphrodisiac chocolate Vice, and it came up as this. And it still kind of blows my mind that people use these words in like journalism. And I guess
are you going to read them?
Folks, here's a line from the Vice article. Folks, meet the chocolate confections of Tabs. A company makes treats designed to be consumed before, and I'm going to say intercourse, so you can intercourse even more fervently. Like that's how I'm going to say that phrase. But like, how could you
The first paragraph is even more explicit. I mean, I guess this is Vice, so they don't give a shit. But
yeah, they do not care.
Anyway, this is like this. Actually, let's take a small detour here, Michael, into Vice-based businesses, not Vice, the media outlet, but Vice as in virtue and vice. So these are, your sex toys, your sex chocolate, all that stuff on the internet. Regardless of whether or not you personally would be interested in this niche, what are you think some of the pros and cons of vice-based businesses that you've seen? I mean, I'll include firearms, I'll include drugs, I'll include, sex, like all this type of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two interesting ones. I mean, there's the obvious one of being in a vice business where it's like, okay, well, like it reduces the percentage of people that are going to come in and compete with you, right? Like, for example, like I think you and I both know you can make a ton of money running gentlemen's clubs. Are you going to run a gentlemen's club? Hell no, right? Like I'm just not going to do it. And I'm not going to get involved in it. I'm not going to have any part of that kind of stuff. So I think that's kind of the obvious one. It's like, oh, like your competition is going to be much less sophisticated just because nobody wants to be like, what do you do at a party? Oh, well, I own, Perfect Chen's Gentleman Club. And what does that entail? Well, women take off their clothes there and then sometimes boundaries get crossed. Like that's not going to happen. The other thing about it is because this is a more nuanced thing about vice businesses is because it's a relatively like gray area thing. Sometimes, vice gets treated by the law differently. So you end up with like this weird hodgepodge of like learning how, you can have regulatory moats basically. And so the one I like think about that's really interesting is like the way the alcohol like distribution works, right? That is a vice business. Albeit one that's getting more and more kind of mainstream each year. But there are huge like fortunes in the state of Texas, for example, because people understand the nuances of that law, right? And like while my ancestors were selling explosives, which is also a vice business, fireworks on the side of the road, I know people who their ancestors went and decided to become liquor distributors or get the Budweiser dealership, right, in the state of Texas. And those were probably looked at about the same back in the 50s when we were both considering what businesses to be in. And now they fly in private jets, and I still sell explosives. So, so it's like, it's one of those things where it also creates a moat around you understanding this kind of niche business and potentially having some kind of legal capture or regulatory capture that's going to enable you to create, profit over time.
Yep. I know several people who have made absolute killings selling sex toys on the internet. Yeah. And it's interesting because when you're in these vice businesses, as you said, the competition is not as sophisticated. There's a whole bunch of, left and right coast marketers that are just not going to touch it. Yep. So if you're a really good marketer, you're swimming in the kiddie pool to some degree, and you can really, really crush it. But you have in e-commerce, especially, for example, you have limited options. Like you cannot run Facebook ads because Facebook doesn't want ads for explicit stuff in their newsfeed, right? So you end up, the tactics get different. So not only, Michael, as you sort of mentioned, is there sometimes a regulatory moat, there can also be sort of an operational moat because there's sort of these bizarro world, mirror world type of tactics that are not really the best tactics in vanilla stuff, but are the tactics you must use. And I'm not saying they're black hat or anything, but like SEO is way more important in vice businesses. YouTube and content marketing is way more important because you can't do paid ad distribution. You can't do Google ad distribution. So you got to rank organically. Like you can't cheat. So actually a lot of these guys end up being really good marketers because they can't buy any of the distribution. They have to earn it with really good content. So it's just interesting, when I see vice businesses, I'm especially intrigued in how they go to market, knowing that a lot of doors are closed to them.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I pulled up tabschocolate.com, which is I think the business. We figured it out. And these guys have done a great job, like building a pretty compelling site here. The thing that I like the most, which is like really funny, is like they have this section that's like see tabs in action. And I guess it sounds like underneath the hood, they have some sort of program where they're paying women on TikTok to make TikToks about tabs. That's what it looks like is going on here. And they kind of hinted 100%. About it in the listing. But like the third section in this website, which is totally fascinating, is like, we are going to get women talking about wanting to get freaky by eating tabs, and then Tabs, the chocolate brand, the business, and then we're going to record them, and then we're going to put those listings on the website. and target a certain certain demographic of people who, are interested in seeing women talk about that kind of stuff. So
you have to, like, if you guys are listening, go to tabschocolate.com. This website is a masterclass in e-commerce marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a 12 out of 10. They have done an amazing job. The homepage tells you everything you need to know. They've got 30-day satisfaction guarantee, free shipping over a certain threshold. They got review counts, 5-star counts. As Michael mentioned, they got user-generated content all front and center. They've got all of the trust stuff, safe and effective ingredients, FDA approved, made in the USA, discreet shipping, like all the video. Like, this is almost perfect. I mean, I absolutely have to hand it to these guys. Phenomenal e-commerce marketing.
Dude, some 19-year-olds did this?
Apparently.
I'm 49. I don't think I could do this. Like, this is some legit
it's super good. I mean, you really got to hand it to these guys. Now, the thing though, that's like, I look at all this and I go, great. Like, here's what I like about this. It's all direct. It's all on their .com, I assume, right? It's probably not much on Amazon. It's probably almost all organic traffic, right? If they've gone viral a couple times.
Yeah.
And they're probably smart enough to be taking that organic viral content and then repackaging it into ads to boost their distribution. So I think this is probably very well executed. They probably got a lot of great backlinks from all the viral exposure they've had, which is going to make their domain authority really high, to help them rank for other products if they launch them under the Tabs brand. So there's a lot to like here. The thing that worries me though is it's only a year old and it's a little fad based. And I don't know what's protectable here except the name. And now you can say that about almost any consumer product under the sun. But I would expect that there are already a shitload, I would say, of knockoffs, right? So I don't know how protectable this is. Right now, this is a one SKU brand.
Yeah.
If I'm them, I'm trying to rapidly make the leap from branded product to brand with 10 products, right? And build that equity value into the brand, not just the product.
So I Google Aphrodisiac chocolate, and there is now, I mean, these guys show up a ton. But you're starting to see more and more. There's even some on Amazon here. Gourmet Aphrodisiac chocolate bar.
Yeah, and this is how e-commerce works. Like, you have a ounce of success and the copycats flood in. Like, it is actually a very scary thing to blow up very fast in e-commerce, especially virally. And not have like a whole strategy built out to capture it and make sure that you stay ahead of the market, because it just attracts competition like bees to honey. And it just you want to, like, the best e-commerce businesses like sell a ton without going viral, so no one knows about them. Yeah, when you go viral, like you're on Joe Rogan, you're all over TikTok, wherever, you're Good Morning America, whatever, like, light the fuse. Rush of competitors within a couple months.
It's, this, and I think that's the worry here. It looks like their number one and number two, like, traffic source have been going viral, which is
hard to replicate.
It happens once, right? Because people hear it and they don't come back. I mean, My First Million isn't going to talk about it again. And then, or maybe they do, but not in a good sense. And then you have TikToks, right? And like the TikTok thing seems very kind of ephemeral, right? Like, it's great that these folks are given, testimonials, but that's, somebody else can do that just as well, So maybe that's why this thing is priced so cheap.
Maybe. I mean, it's like, I don't think they're dead in the water here, but I think if you bought this from these guys, and maybe they already have this, they haven't executed it, but they need very quickly to fan this brand out to be a real brand and not just a single product that is going viral.
Right.
Because, I mean, you got to be very careful not to buy the viral thing at the top of the viral peak.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like here, definitely use this customer list. I mean, they have 100,000 customers. They should be selling them other, optimization products. anyway, I'm trying to figure out how like explicit I should be. Let's just say other
All
like
kinds of sex adjacent products, all kinds of virility enhancing products, all kinds of, I mean, like there's obviously a supplements play here. There's obviously other types of candies. There's there's probably a CBD or a relaxation type. I mean, the brand is good, Tabs, which I think has a little bit of a druggy connotation here. But there's all kinds of things you could do with this. Gummies of all kinds. I mean, there's a lot here, but they need to be doing it. Like they need to be running quickly from just being a sexual chocolate brand.
Yeah. Well, and then also like try to convert as many of these 100,000 people as you can from apparently one-time buyers to recurring or repeat buyers. I'd be really interested in what they're doing to try to make that happen.
Yeah.
From a standpoint of like, okay, like let's get you on the monthly chocolate subscription, or we'll send you chocolate plus one, with some sort of gift box type thing added into it.
Well, I think that's why they need more products, right? Because yes, this is consumable chocolate, but like the fraction of people that are going to like buy this every month and keep it in their bedside table is much lower than the fraction of people who are going to buy this one time because they saw it on TikTok. Right. Like, it's just like this, the sexual chocolate, this is not like athletic greens or like something that's becoming part of your morning routine. Like this is not that kind of product. So in order to resell to all these people who maybe bought once after seeing a great TikTok, maybe they used the product, maybe they had a great time, but like, you got to give them something new. You got to put your hooks into other areas of their life pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, and then I think watching the athletic greens people has been wildly impressive. And that's one of the things I like about, Twitter and the internet so much is like, I watch these people do things and I'm like, holy crap, that's really, really good. Like, that's so cool to watch. Like, I think like Sam Pars, like, and those guys launching Hampton, their peer group this week, like that was a masterclass. And like, holy cow, this is how you like own Twitter for the day. But then Athletic Greens has taken it beyond Twitter to like all these platforms where they just have like, I mean, let's be frank about it. They're selling a green smoothie thing that has been around forever, but they've packaged it super well. And then they have this like high margin repeatable strategy where they just spend the money to get influencers to recommend their product. And like, it's just genius. And like, I think that's the playbook to when you buy this business, you run the same thing. You just go for a different niche. Like Athletic Greens is like health and performance. This is like, get you some. Like, we're going to own that niche.
We'll get you some, or like, like a little bit alternative performance enhancing, like maybe some of like these weird Asian herbs.
Yeah.
All that stuff. But Athletic Greens actually though is, I think, like the exception to the rule. They did everything you just described. And I agree. They're phenomenal marketers. They just have one SKU. It's the AG1 green powder. It's incredible to me that they have not really branched out. Like, yes, they have a vitamin D they give you for free, et cetera. But really, they have one SKU. Yeah. I think the difference, though, between Athletic Greens and these guys is the green smoothie is part of your everyday routine. Your LTVs are probably really high. There's a kind of routine factor to it that I think the sexual chocolate probably does not have.
There's, by the way, I just want to be transparent. There's been like 18 times during this podcast that I would make a normal Girdley bro joke if we were recording this. And that was just one of those moments I was like, oh, I can't say that.
This is not a family podcast, but we try not to totally offend everyone's sensibilities.
It's like, I can't do that. Yeah, no, I can't do that. So it's so perfect. Fucking. Look, I think there's something really interesting here. Like I think if you were the right kind of buyer that had this, we've talked about like some of this stuff, like the betting one where like the PE guys would come in and lose their shirt. This is one where I like, if I was like in a growth e-commerce fund and I wanted to come in and try to do a relatively high risk play to turn this from a $5 million to a $20 million business and flip it. Like, I think there's something to it. Like, I think this is the right buyer for this because you got to kind of run a high risk, invest some playbook. Like, you need to, buy it for 5 and put another $1 million or 2 in it, and then turn that into 20 or 25, yes. And or even more if you kind of get the level of Athletic Greens success there. So anyway,
I am sure this will sell if it hasn't already sold. I mean, there's a ton of guys like that know how to scale an e-commerce brand and look at this, and it's kind of. It's an MVP. That's a minimum viable brand, I guess, MVP. and it's like, it's working, like they can run paid traffic to it. Like the site is really good. And the opportunity, as I said, is more products and continue to scale the marketing and also make sure the operations doesn't break. This, like a guy like Jesse Pujji would crush it with this. Yeah. You know, there's a ton of Jesse Pujjis out there. There's only one Jesse Pujji, but there are other guys who could do great with this too.
But back to your original point, like this is a counter to his brand. Like he wouldn't sign up for this.
Great point. Also that, yes. Yeah. But there are a ton of guys who you've not heard of.
Yeah. To me, that would smell like opportunity. So, yeah. And look, I wouldn't do this. This is counter to my brand. Like, I'm not going to go sell you some. We haven't even really talked about the fact that this stuff doesn't work. It's all placebo. so
I would think so. I mean, I have no ideas. I'm not aware of what's even in it, but likely yes.
They have ingredients here. I'm going to click on it. My suspicion is it has a very high caffeine content. And most of these people are getting hit with a caffeine high. It's like drinking a cup of coffee and be like, well, I'm energetic. What do you want to do? Let's go.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, it's a sugar fat caffeine high. Like, like I'm hyped now. What would you like to do? Well, let's go from there. So it is what it is.
Yep.
Cool. This was a good one. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. I think we'll wrap it up there unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
Hats off to the two 19-year-olds who started this, a masterclass in digital marketing.
Killers. Well, I think the interesting thing for me would be, okay, there's probably one of those kids is the rock star. And if they've had a falling out, I bet you there's one of those kids who is just like ridiculously talented to put all this together. And I would want to figure out who that kid is and bet on his next thing.
Well, or actually, geez, I'm so glad you said that. Right. So there's two founders. As you said, probably one of them's the horse. Right.
Yeah.
And oftentimes the founder disagreement comes from the horse is bitter at the free rider.
Yep.
Right. Who owns 40% of the company and isn't pulling his weight. This is the opportunity. Don't buy the whole thing. Buy out the free rider.
Yeah.
Right. Buy out the free rider. Let the guy who is the horse stay in place, continue to own 60% of it or whatever. Create some structure where he can earn into another 5% of it or something if he really kicks ass, or 10%. And just like, you don't need to bet on his next thing, bet on his current thing. This is it.
Yeah.
You know, just buy out the one founder who wants out.
I like it. Cool. All right. Let's wrap it up here. If you've listened this far, the content is free, but here's the ask. We ask you to just tell one friend, take this episode or take your favorite episode and send it to one friend who you think should be a subscriber and ask them to subscribe. That's our ask for today. And I hope you guys would consider doing that. Bill, I don't know if you saw it. We just broke 750,000 a month run rate again.
Yeah, baby.
Or 750,000 a year run rate. So we're well on our way to 1 million. And we're only 180 episodes in. So YOLO.
All right, let's do it, man. 1 million downloads. Here we come.
It's the next big thing. I heard after you get to 1 million, the podcast people send you like one of those little like YouTube triangles so you can put it in your background.
Yeah, well, I know, Michael, that's why you wanted to start syndicating the podcast to YouTube so that one day we can get these little Luceites from YouTube.
That would be cool. I mean, I think, I'm working on hiring this new person to come in to kind of own all the media stuff and strategy for us. But like, we are doing a good job, I think, of playing the Twitter game for the podcast. We're doing a good job of playing the audio only game. And that's where most of our listeners still are. But like, there's a lot of the YouTube game we're just not playing because none of us have the bandwidth to do it and really dig in and make it happen. So, I think that'll be the next frontier for us next year is, how do you take and make this kind of, for example, there's editing a podcast like this to make it more interesting to watch on YouTube rather than us just sitting here. That's all part of the thing, but there's some strategy to that. There's tactics. I think I shared with you that video of the guy who he tweeted, he's a video explaining how editing can keep people's brains engaged and there's an art to it. Did I send that to you?
Oh, yeah. No, but I'm familiar, like the quick cuts, the orienting response. It's really fascinating.
Well, and then he was like talking about like this stuff called Foley, which I guess is relatively a new concept to me. It's where you do the video and like you create illusions of reality. So for example, he was doing his video and he like takes his glasses off and then he puts them back on. And the Foley is adding a sound to that to make it more visceral for the watcher, even though there was no sound in the recording.
Oh yeah. It's just like all the sound artist guys, like, thumping pillows and, breaking paint cans and stuff.
Swishing of clothes. Like Like, for example, like if you're doing a scene and you want to make it really seem like somebody walking away from you is like mad, like you replace their normal sound with like the sound of shoes going down like an empty long hallway at a high school, right?
Right.
And reverberating, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the art of sound, exactly that. And that's part of that, plus the visual is how you kind of keep people engaged and stick to your content. And like Mr. Beast is, the classic,
Yep.
example of that at the highest level.
So stay tuned to our YouTube because we're getting some help on the media side, right? We're hopefully recruiting a cool all-star employee that will help us with some of this stuff. Stay tuned to the YouTube. Acquisition Anonymous is about to get fun. Just imagine the sexual chocolate episode with Foley on YouTube, and that's where we're going.
Oh man! All right, man. Catch you next week.
All right.